Am I the a-hole for calling my sister-in-law out and leaving my house with my baby shower gifts and causing her to be shunned by my in-laws? Me, female 29, and my husband, male 32, are expecting our first baby together. In case it's relevant, my husband comes from a well-off family while I come from a family that was not. I'm not ashamed to say it. I'd have a great family that I wouldn't replace for all the money in the world. My in-laws are great too, and they treat me good. Save for my brother-in-law Austin, who likes to point out how beneath his levels I am, although his wife comes from poor family too, and they are also expecting. My sister planned a baby shower for me. It wasn't fancy, but it was affordable and great. My sister-in-law showed up empty-handed and criticized my baby shower party up and down and talked about how glamorous hers will be. She asked my sister how much the party cost her and joked that the dress she wore probably costs more. She was acting rude and arrogant to my family and friends, but none of my in-laws said anything. My sister put the gifts in the other room, then we continued celebrating. After the party, my sister notified me that there were a number of gifts missing, including the one she brought. We looked around and couldn't find them. Then I checked the camera footage and saw my sister-in-law walking out with several gifts that were given by my own family and friends. I was fuming and called to confront her. I'd asked her to bring the gifts back, but she denied and was hurt that I accused her of stealing from me and said she'd tell the family about me lying when I insisted. I told her I have a video and have no problem involving the family too to see who's at fault. She hung up and I waited, then shared the footage with all of my in-laws. It blew up, and many of them shamed her for what she did and told her to give the stuff back. She still didn't respond, but Austin was livid and called me to ask about the nonsense I fabricated about his wife, and called me gross with a wild imagination to even think that his wife would steal cheap gifts from my low-class family, much less have the gall to go lie to his entire family about it, and caused his wife to be publicly shamed and shunned. Mother-in-law was so upset too. She said I messed up and should have resolved this privately. Instead of going nuclear and ruining sister-in-law's relationships over a few gifts, it offered to pay for them if I take the post down. My husband was out of the country, and she said she'll call him personally to tell him to handle me when I refused. And she said, just wait till he gets back. Well, husband reacted differently. He even got into an argument with Austin and told him his wife was the cheap one for stealing his baby stuff. I got my stuff back, but haven't heard anything from my sister-in-law. Mother-in-law said sister-in-law doesn't steal. She's better than that. And I shouldn't call it stealing, so she must have had another reason. She is in Austin at his wife's side after he argued with my husband. Now I feel like I just drove a wedge in my husband's family for this. Now for the top comments. The nuclear option is calling the police and pressing charges. Sister-in-law got off easy. Not a hole. I'd be pulling that video up every holiday. Notice how the mother-in-law dropped her own variation of narcissist prayer in defense of sister-in-law. Too bad you can't make a video your profile picture. Not a hole. I feel like I just drove a wedge in my husband's family for this. You didn't. Her stealing did. You did what anyone would do, and you even gave her a chance to fess up privately before involving anyone else. It really takes some enablers to watch a video of someone literally stealing and then go ahead and blame the victim of the said theft. Not a hole. This absolutely is a hill I would die on. You don't get to steal from me and then cry you're the victim because I shared a video of you stealing. No. Not a hole. Not at all. She stole your baby gifts. There's no excuse for that, and your mother-in-law enabling that behavior is disgusting. You gave her a private opportunity to right the wrong, and she didn't take it. She screwed up more than once here. Kudos to your husband. Not a hole. Your mother-in-law should be ashamed of supporting your sister-in-law. If she didn't want it to be made public, your sister-in-law should have returned the gifts as easily as she stole them. Stay away from them. I'd consider it a blessing to be rid of them before giving birth. You don't need any of these people around your child. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not helping my husband clean the house/host his family? My husband and I have been married for 11 years, but there has always been some friction when it comes to household chores and hosting guests. My husband has always maintained that he has a higher threshold for messes, meaning that he won't think something needs attention as quickly as I do. However, he is always willing to clean when I ask him to. This often causes friction when we have guests over, as I feel like I have to scramble to clean the house and prep food and drinks whenever anyone comes over. He will generally handle the cleanup afterwards, but he's terrible about budgeting time before people come over. Example, he is almost always just barely getting in the shower when people arrive at our house. This afternoon, my mother-in-law is driving through our town and wants to stop by and see our house for the first time. This is also the first time we will be seeing her in almost 2 years. I have been reminding my husband for 2 weeks to finalize when she is coming, so that I can free up my schedule at work and get the house sorted out. We both work from home, but both of us have regular meetings that can't be arbitrarily skipped. Last night, I reminded him again to text his mom to find out when she would be here, and I reminded him that I have a meeting at 1 p.m. that it is now too late to reschedule. This morning, at about 7 a.m., he finally contacted her and told me that she's already left and she wants to be here at noon for lunch. He wants me to entertain/host until my meeting so he can finish up his own work. Would I be the a-hole if I stick to my work schedule and let him deal with this situation? I have projects that I need to finish, and I'm just so tired of him waiting until the last second and expecting me to drop everything and scramble around fixing everything. I feel like I'm just being petty because it really bothers me when he doesn't help out, especially when it's my family coming over, but I'm also just annoyed at how last minute this is since I've been reminding him for weeks. Not a a-hole. Your spouse didn't listen multiple times you ask and should take responsibility, especially since you both work from home. Her work is just as important as his, but he's told her essentially that hers is irrelevant. Totally 100% not a a-hole. Husband has to put on big boy pants. Not a a-hole. I would pop out and say hello to your mother-in-law. You haven't seen her in 2 years. Your husband agreed to host her for lunch. If he doesn't want to prepare anything, he can order takeout. Also, he can clean the house. He's known she was coming for 2 weeks. Not a a-hole. Your husband is about to learn a valuable lesson about planning, cleaning, and having guests. You're tired of having to drop everything last minute because of his poor planning. One way to stop him from doing it again is to let him have the consequences of his own inaction. He knew she was coming. Okay, let him handle it. Well, if you keep fixing these situations for him, he will keep doing the same thing. Let him learn the hard way. I agree, 100%. I just don't want to pick an excessively bad time to take a stand, and I really don't like petty fights in front of other people. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for being less than nice to a distant family member that came over unannounced and woke my whole house up? So I, 32 male, was at home with my wife, 32 female, and our 2 children, a 3-year-old boy and a daughter that is just a month old. My wife has been very sleep deprived for obvious reasons, and I've been struggling too. She went to bed at 7 p.m. and my 1-month daughter had just gone down too. 7:40 rolls around and I'm snuggling my son, getting him ready for bed. We hear a knock at the door. My dog barks and my baby and wife gets woken up. The person at the door was a very distant relative that has a tendency to overstep. She's my great uncle's adopted son's wife, and I've never liked her, and I have good reason, as she yelled at my mom for not getting invited to my wedding years ago. Anyways, I answer, and I said, "What are you doing here?" She hands me a bag with some baby clothes for the new baby, which is a nice gesture, but not at damn near 8 p.m. when she knows we just had a baby. I said thank you and goodbye. She kept trying to talk to me. I not so politely said, "You just woke my whole freaking house up. Don't ever come here without calling me first again." I thought about calling and apologizing, but I really don't think I was in the wrong. Crazy rude on her part, right? So that's what I got. Tell me, am I the a-hole? Edit. For what it's worth, this woman has always been a line stepper. She yelled at my mom for not getting invited to my wedding. She also cheats on my actual relative, and everyone knows it but him. Plenty of people have told him, but he refuses to believe it. I should have included this before. I also wake up very early for work. Lots of mentions of training my dog better. We have had break-ins before, and I have a family to keep safe. I want my dog to bark when there's a stranger at my door, and she is extremely well trained. Now for the comments. Not a a-hole. I know you could have been nicer, but new babies and a lack of sleep make us grumpy, crabby patties, so you get a pass. She was rude for not texting/calling ahead of time to ask if it's a good time to come over. Put a big sign on your front door that says, "Newborn baby, please do not disturb," or something. I've seen it done before. Congrats on your new baby and beautiful family. Thank you. Good advice. I get the feeling that those who think I am the a-hole are not parents, and those who think I am not the a-hole are parents. Haha. Some of us non-parents also think you're not the a-hole. Even if you take the kiddos out of the equation, I still hate people just dropping by without calling/texting first. Maybe it's the millennial in me, but I will fully not answer the door if someone does that. And it's 8 p.m. on a weekday. Most people will have to work in the morning. After college/early 20s, nobody just stops by to hang out after dark, with no warning, unless it's a best friend or someone you're sleeping with. Your relative is rude, and I would have been snappy with her too. Not the a-hole. I don't understand the other comments. You don't show up unannounced when someone just had a baby, especially not in the first month. I get she had presents, and honestly, I would have responded the same way. It's just rude to do even if it's your best friend and not a distant relative. Maybe apologize and say we were all tired and we appreciate it, but reinforce, please do not stop by again without letting us know. I'm struggling with the rules of this sub because I want to defend myself when people say I'm the a-hole. I honestly wasn't expecting people to say I was the a-hole, lol. I know I was, a little, but what you did majorly trumped what I did, I thought. Not the a-hole. Training your dog better? What? Dogs are supposed to bark when someone's at your door. At least that's what I want mine to do. Thank you. Rip on me if you want to, but you leave my dog out of it. Last story. Am I the a-hole for saying no to my sister and brother-in-law staying at my place for my wedding? My older sister, 36 female, married her husband, 38 male 10 years ago. At the time, she had my niece who was 6 and my nephew who was 5. I, 25 female, was 15 and he was a domineering prick. I remember staying with my sister for a weekend and he was a prick because I didn't make the bed the way he liked it made, military style, and he made me remake the bed twice to get it just right. He didn't like the way I ate either and said I needed to learn how to shovel food in so we can move on with the day. The weekend I spent there was awful and he treated me like crap. He was also hard on my niece and nephew, and they were miserable. My sister was happy with things, and she told me as much when I spoke to her about it. Not much has changed. Her husband is still the very same way, and is very hard to get along with. He's one of those guys that never leaves the military training behind. He acts like we're all in the army, and holds us to those standards. It has created a lot of tension with my niece and nephew who despise their stepdad, and have admitted they want to move out as soon as they can. But that's not the issue here, or at least I feel this is relevant to the issue at hand. I'm getting married, and I invited my sister, brother-in-law, and the kids. The kids aren't coming, my sister said. They want a weekend without the teens, and she wants her and her husband to stay at my house. I said no. She asked me why. I said I don't want him barking orders in my home the morning of my wedding, and that she knows that's what he will do, as it does it every time they stay at our parents' house. My sister told me I never gave him a chance, and denying them a chance to stay isn't fair, because he's always been there for us and treated us like his family. I told her it doesn't excuse any of it, and when I have brought it up before when I have told him to stop ordering people around or treating us like kids, he ignores us. And I do not want that energy in my home the day of my wedding. She thinks I'm an a-hole for saying no. Her husband thinks I'm the world's biggest a-hole, and that I am wrong to treat them differently just because I don't like him. Am I the a-hole? It's your wedding, not the a-hole. They want a weekend without the kids? They can rent a nice hotel room and really live it up. It's hilarious to think him barking orders at the hotel cleaning staff as they make the bed. Tuck that corner in, you maggot. Not the a-hole. That I'm wrong to treat them differently because I don't like him. But that's exactly why you should treat him differently. He's cruel and abusive to his children and his family, so no one likes him. These are the consequences of his choices. Also, your sister sadly is his enabler. These two are simply not mature enough to have a healthy view of the situation. They're going to continue to act like victims because they are horrible narcissists. Not the a-hole. Exactly. What is this absolute BS that he should be treated as nicely as everyone else, despite the fact that he is a rampaging a-hole? Not the a-hole OP. Have a lovely wedding day. They're not even his children. They're his stepchildren. And sisters basically allowed him to make them miserable. She'll be shocked when they move out the second they turn 18. Not Dale. It's your house, your wedding, and you choose who stays at your place. And your wedding's the last day you should have to put up with someone you don't like. Not to mention, he'd probably be shouting military-style orders on the wedding night.